I've made the decision to not monetize this video because I have to include the licensed soundtrack. Every beat, every note is so beautifully in sync with its characters and the general feeling of the story that to cover it without such music would be to rob you of a pivotal piece of what makes There She Is so special. There She Is more than just an animation. It's pure unbridled optimism. It's the fluttery feeling you get when you think about your crush. It's the sunlight that slowly pours into your bedroom on a Friday morning. How do I illustrate just how joyous and uplifting this nearly 20-year-old internet cartoon is? What does it do to earn the bold title of greatest of all time on Newgrounds' absolutely massive catalog of iconic animations, next to the likes of internet culture titans like Salad Fingers, Tankmen, and the Madness series? You likely know these characters already, but have seldom heard of the subject of today's video. To put it simply, that's not what I'm measuring here. Yes, it doesn't have the same social impact that those cartoons did, but the quality of its art, the rhythm and warmth that radiates from each frame of its gorgeous animation, and its contrast to what people expected of Newgrounds at the time, it all culminates in something that even the most passive appreciator of the website simply must experience. We all have those music videos that play in our heads when we hear a song we love, some sort of film reel that goes off in our minds, expertly linking beats to movement to convey a perfectly kinetic scene. The difference with There She Is that the team behind it decided to make the vision in their head exist. The first episode of There She Is premiered overseas, but didn't really take off until it was exposed to Western audiences on Newgrounds by its three-person animation team, Samboxa. It sets up the two main characters, Doki and Nabi, as strangers, a bunny and cat respectively, who happen across each other near a vending machine. Doki is immediately enamored despite the cultural stigma in this world of dating outside their species, and she almost instantly acts on her thirst. A playful Korean song kicks into high gear and a lighthearted chase scene punctuates almost all of the runtime. Ultimately, they share a moment where the episode began. Doki has a treat usually reserved for cats, and Nabi reluctantly finds it cute, thus ending the thirst-fueled chase that was the entire plot up to this point. The idea of the genders being reversed here is a terrifying thought that we will put aside. Things could have ended here for There She Is as a series easily, especially since it wasn't supposed to be one. Based off of a running South Korean comic, the first episode plays out more like a one-shot than the first entry in a collection of episodes building up to something, because that's what it was originally supposed to be. Demand for a sequel was high though, so eventually episode 2 happened and the animation work got a significant upgrade. We actually learned something about Doki's friends here that paints her as questionable, and I don't just mean the thirst this time. Whether her and Nabi are actually dating at this point or not is anyone's guess, but Nabi at least humors her in this episode by agreeing to not only attend her birthday party, but deliver the cake itself. Hijinks ensue as you'd expect, and all of it is accompanied by Bulldog Mansion's Happy Birthday to Me. I have to assume that one of the team members on Samboxa heard the song before coming up with the storyboards for this one, as it's just too perfect for the situation playing out. Midway through, we see some of Doki's friends, and it's pretty obvious that they're kind of Yakuza-ish. A trio of gangster bunnies in particular have a very warped view on this whole dynamic going on and aren't very supportive of Doki and Nabi's supposed relationship, to say the least. Things come to a head when they pursue Nabi and tackle him into the room where the party's taking place, ruining the cake and everything. Very high-stakes action, definitely. Doki seems fine with everything though, so it's all good. It's here that I'm reminded of how fantastic the series is at weaving subplots into its narrative. No matter how chaotic things get, little narrative beats are getting runtime, like the budding romances between background characters. Anyone watching these as they came out would be skeptical, almost scared of a third entry, as the second one was able to pack so much love and thirst into its short length it would be hard to top. But then the third one came out and people's hearts melted in their chests. Episode 3 has a neat secret up its sleeve a lot of people don't know about, and provided you're watching on YouTube, you can't even properly see it. It starts with Nabi waking up and getting accustomed to the day, having settled comfortably into the rhythm of dodging Doki's advances, before finally agreeing to a first date. The enthusiasm levels are unequal, but Doki's love and admiration is boundlessly endearing, and even some of the onlookers here are starting to root for her despite this world's view on their kind's dating. Provided you were watching on Newgrounds, you can actually click on an Easter egg that changes the entire beginning sequence to show Doki's perspective in the beginning instead. Despite the fact that this entry is almost entirely devoid of conflict, it has the most ominous ending. But before that, it just does what the series does best, warming hearts and instilling hope to anyone watching who feels something similar. Seeing Nabi slowly grow to reciprocate the feelings he's being given is just so fulfilling. It's touching, beautiful, and it's also very, very dangerous, because the episode ends with a brick being thrown through Doki's window, a sign of what tragically happens to them in the pre-ultimate finale. Out of all of them, the fourth entry is easily the most tonally dark, and it's not completely to its benefit. It's as beautifully made as episodes 2 through 5 for sure, but the slower and more brooding song just doesn't make for as much interesting synergy between the animation and beats. Admittedly, it's also super edgy. It works though, and is consistent with the cheese we've seen in prior installments, just in a different direction. I'm glad they went this route though, as having an entire story with all highs and no lows would make for some shallow storytelling. There She Is was never determined to give us a thorough look into its world and culture or anything, but seeing the two main characters struggle to do rudimentary tasks like going on a date without getting shunned was not only great for showing us just how difficult their relationship is to manage, it raised the stakes of the narrative, evolving it from a simple love story into a cultural one, where the outlook of other characters on this couple expanded our scope of what we saw and cared about. Despite the doom and gloom at the forefront of the story here, subplots still find time to progress, like this guy becoming accustomed to Doki and Nabi's cause on account of his own romance in the second episode, and Doki's own pet hedgehog passing away after defending her from mostly peaceful protesters. The outside pressure eventually splits the couple apart as Nabi wants to keep Doki safe. Doki eventually heads off for a place called Paradise, where she knows people won't judge her on account of who she likes. She does this by herself reluctantly, as Nabi won't contact her in any way. I love the slow pans and smart transitions here. Even if it was just a self-contained story, it'd be awesome, but it's also a smart way to lower our spirits right before the finale that would stand head and shoulders above every prior episode. As you've likely already noticed, there are a fair amount of romantic tropes that There She Is indulges in, and you could easily chalk it up to being unoriginal, but I don't think that this series is special because of a nuanced and original plot. What sells There She Is the presentation, its ability to work with its soundtrack so well, and perhaps the most obvious, its presence on Newgrounds next to things completely opposite it. It gave the website a missing piece of itself it didn't know existed until it released, and if there's any part of this web cartoon that sells that description, it's the finale. On release, There She Is Part 5 broke Newgrounds due to the overwhelming traffic. Part 5 is not only a fitting farewell to the series, but made all the better by the build-up of the really grim episode before it. In typical romantic story fashion, Nabi has to get to Doki before she gets to the airport and leaves for good. Old rivalries are patched over, with the bunnies from earlier helping him get to Doki in time, doing everything from speeding to deliberately crashing their motorcycles to stop traffic. Nabi makes it in the nick of time to see Doki. Both sides of this cultural dispute surround them as they have a loving embrace, shattering the giant hologram around them, and shortly after that, they triumphantly leave, but not before paying homage to the poses shown in the first episode. It's so perfect. There's even little epilogue panels showing the conclusions to each of the side characters' stories. With next to no words and only a fraction of the runtime that most animations have, There She Is has more character, heart, and thirst than most animations can dream of achieving. In the past, I've recommended games that were able to tug at the heartstrings because it's a rare thing to see a story that's able to do so. It's rare to have any fictional story that's crafted in such a way as to allow us to feel their highs and lows. Games like One Shot and Omori are fantastic for humbling us and giving perspective to things we should cherish. They knock us down and remind people that in even the most grim of circumstances, there are things you can do that are beautiful. There She Is does something different but equally important. It tells us a familiar, comfortable tale, yeah. Its ludicrously obvious commentary on interracial and gay relationships might not be as sorely needed now as when it initially came out, but there is still still so much value to extract from this short series just based on its feel-good vibes alone. Stories that leave a heavy burden in our heart to contemplate and analyze are some of my favorite ones that exist. It's within those darker stories that we can glean useful or even comforting information about the human condition that we can extrapolate from a fictional setting and into our real one. But there is also a time and place for something as harmonic as There She Is, a story so broad and universally reaching that its contours can be pulled from and related to in equal measure. Take a break from RPG Maker games and your somber stories, and let There She Is bolster your heart, mind, and thirst into the new year.